Mick, your company Snyk just released the State of Open Source Security Report. What was the most surprising result from it?
The spookiest thing was 49% of most organizations don't have a security policy that actually looks at and addresses open source security.
Why do you have to have a separate security plan for open source?
Most modern applications use a substantial amount of open source.
Like, isn't it something like 3/4 sometimes?
It's sometimes 80-90%.
And just to pause, we've heard about these sort of what they call the watering hole attacks, where essentially they taint open source software that's popular, and then that gets into your software.
It's definitely one of the threat vectors. One of the ones that I think we see the most is just the fact that a lot of these open source just have inherent flaws and security risks associated with them. They're constantly being discovered and updated. Staying on top of those, knowing what you have and what's the path to solving that problem is what most organizations struggle with. If you're using open source, you better have a plan in place.
The plan for a big company that's got a ton of developers is going to be very different than a plan that doesn't have any developers on staff and maybe either no security team or a skeleton security team. How does that vary?
Making sure that developers that are using those components know what the risk is. They don't want to put the organization at risk. They have no desire, right, for their company to get attacked. So making sure that they understand what that risk is there, I think, provides a lot of guidance in helping solve those problems. And so it's making sure developers are aware.
Give me like a really classic scenario of how open source becomes a problem.
Log4j.
Log4j.
Yeah. The small little ubiquitous piece of code that every organization used for logging all of a sudden became this enormous threat vector. And knowing where it is part of the problem. Knowing how to solve it becomes even a more difficult aspect of the problem.
We're going to talk about this very, very issue this Friday, August 5th, 2022 for Super Cyber Friday. Our topic of discussion will be hacking open source, an hour of critical thinking of how to better secure non-proprietary software and environments. Now, joining me for this discussion will be the gentleman I've been just speaking with, Mick McCully, who is a field strategist over at Snyk. And also joining us will be Steve Hendrick, VP of Research for the Linux Foundation. And as I understand, Mick, he was responsible or was one of the key people who worked on this report, correct?
He co-authored that very report, so it's very, very close to the information within it.
I want to thank your company, by the way, Snyk. They are sponsoring this very episode. Find and automatically fix vulnerabilities in your code, open source dependencies, containers, and infrastructure as code with Snyk. So thank you very much for sponsoring. Now, the whole event is going to start at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. To register for the event, there'll be a link to do that wherever you happen to see this video posted. But you can always head on over to CISOseries.com, and right at the top of the screen, you'll see a link that says, hacking open source. That's going to be our event, August 5th. So why don't you click on that, register, and join us. And by the way, if you see this video, it's dropped on a Monday. If you register by tomorrow, by Tuesday, you're automatically entered into a raffle to win an awesome CISO Series fleece. Yes, people do win these once a week. And you also can win them if you win the best bad idea as well, which is another game. If you haven't played it, we do that on Friday. At the end of the hour, we also have a really fun meetup portion. It's our cybersecurity meetup. Stick around for that. That starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. If you want to be a part of it, you got to register. So do that and join us this Friday.